possible. I mean, for instance, you look at it from the angle of family members of the honorees. I mean, they will be happy. Their friends, relatives, they will praise them, saying you need to read the newspapers. So those people will definitely not agree with some of the comments that we are hearing on air these days about the dishonor that has been done to this country.
Okay, but it sounds a bit tricky because, for instance, if someone was nominated for, I mean, there's that controversy about a previous job, or if he continues therein and the fortunes begin to dwindle, and if he's been nominated previously, what should happen? Should he be struck off the list, or how are people supposed to understand that, well, actually, this was prior to maybe when their fortunes began declining?
Now, you see, the problem with the this honors list is not that, I mean, there are some people on the list are not deserving, but the process of selecting the people to be honored. Okay. And in situations where somebody who had been honored has now done something that is dishonorable, what happens? Now, in Nigeria, there are some people who have received these national honors. They have become ex-convicts now. We don't hear of that. That's the funny thing. Some of them had been honored in the past,
oh dear,
and they now have criminal records, convicted and all that. That is the problem.
Doesn't the National Honors Act of 1963 or so say anything about that?
No, of course it does. Of course, there are processes for removing or withdrawing the medal or the honor that has been given to you. But the problem with this country is that you never hear of some recipients in the past, I mean, losing their medals. That is what I'm saying.
And that's supposed to give it more honor.
Exactly, because then you are able to separate the wheat from the chaff. You now say, look, it doesn't mean that once you have it, it's forever. It's not something you can transfer to your children and say, oh, our father was this. If your father, during his lifetime, did something that is contrary to the intentions of the drafters of the Act of 1964, then your father or your mother must lose it. So you don't pass it on. It's not automatic, but I am sure. But you never hear of a situation where, oh, somebody that was on the honors list, now because he has done this. I was in the process of preparing for this. I thought I should do some comparative analysis. And I looked, because most of the things we do here, we inherited it from our colonial masters, Great Britain. And somebody like Robert Mugabe, he was honored by the Queen. But because of the situation that Zimbabwe finds itself now, it was withdrawn about 3 or 4 years ago on the advice of the Prime Minister then, that this man is no longer deserving of this. It's not because of killing or whatever. It's simply because the economy of his country under his leadership had gone down totally. Now, bring that to Nigeria. You have a situation where you have on the honors list security chiefs. You have the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Afiz Ringim, on the honors list. For what? When this country is so insecure, in every state, even Lagos State, it's acknowledged that we have a big problem on our hands. There is insecurity of life, insecurity of property all over the place. I was hearing over the news today that in Benue State, it's no longer night robbery, it's daylight robbery. They come on these, those you can equate to our area boys here, on the streets. You are going, give me your bag. They check, take the money inside. Whatever valuables you have, they take it, and they just walk away like that. And we have policemen on patrol. That's in Benue State.
Well, it's not about security, but in fairness, we really cannot say we are insecure, because we still can move around, we still can talk, we still can, go to parties.
We must not wait till the time when we can't move around it.
Exactly. But again, we're trying to look at a percentage. With Dr. Togo, we were looking at a percentage of the total number of the awardees. Over 80% of the awardees came from the public sector. These are either public officers or political appointees, with just less than 15% from the private sector.
That is a big contradiction in terms. The government says, "Oh, you privatize everything." The reason why we have problems in this country is because the public sector is overloaded, and they are trying to shed some weight. And when it comes to giving honors, it's given to people in the public sector. Now, it's not as if you don't have people in the public sector. I'm not interested in percentage, what goes to public or private. I'm interested in the selection process. Now, if, for instance, what we have in Nigeria, because the economy is public sector driven, everything revolves around the federal government. Now, if that is the situation, and you can only find people who are driving this country positively from the public sector, well, give it to them. But in Nigeria, we know that the public sector is not working. And that's why you ask the question, why should it be 80% to 20%? Now, the selection process, the president, I was reading in the papers today, first of all, our outcry in this country on this issue has been underscored by his own statements at the point of giving the awards, that the selection process must be better, it should be more transparent, they need to look at the criteria, and that it doesn't mean that he admitted all that. But having admitted it, I felt that as the president who is conferring the honor, there's nothing that precludes you from saying, look, for once, do something populist. If Honorable Gbajabiamila Amila can say, I'm not receiving it, and he had to advertise in the newspapers, there's nothing that stops the president to say that I am an executive president. I don't like this list.
Really?
He's a president, he's an executive president. You don't come, honor the awardees, and then say, oh, the selection process is faulty.
What should
it should have declined. It doesn't have to be conferred from year to year. It wasn't conferred last year. That's why they carried it over. So the president can say, I am not conferring this year because I don't like this election process. That's what he should have done. It's an insult on the psyche of Nigerians for our president to say, okay, I'm going ahead. Chino Achebe, okay, is no longer abreast with realities on ground. Things have changed. What has changed? Is it that we have better power supply? Is it that the roads are better? Is it that we have more security in this country now?
Okay, yes. You're saying that the criticism or from those people, or the kind of reasons from some of the Nigerians should have been listened and taken into consideration before the award.
Drastic step, as in, I am not going ahead with this list. He admitted it. You know, the problem with his sycophancy. Now, he now said, okay, oh, there is a Nigerian National Merit Award. That is different. It's for our eggheads, professors, people in the academia. That is different, and people should not mix the two together.
Which is correct.
Yes, yes, it's correct. And he said the people who nominate, who select, are the eggheads, professors too. But he stopped short of mentioning the people who did this selection.
Well,
what is the difference?
It's led by Justice Belgore, but again, the point you're trying to make here is that with some of these complaints, we shouldn't have gone ahead yesterday.
Yes, if you believe that this is a democracy, and that the voice of the people can be equated to the voice of reason. The general outcry that has, you see, one thing about democracy is, before, it's not as if the honors list had been much better than what we have now. What has happened is that because of the democracy that is growing, that's a plus for this country. People now talk.